Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. So it seems like we've come to a pretty major turning point on this map, as there seems to be quite a significant population boom going on right now, which is very heavily putting strain on our passenger rail as well as some of our bus networks, as we've recently had to redo Jackson and Scottsdale's bus network, and it already seems like these cities are beginning to start to outgrow them. So one of the largest hiccups in this whole thing is the efficiency of our station here in Jackson. Now we probably have about 5 or 6 lines running on just these two tracks that really only have access to these two platforms as well. So right now, this Jackson station is a real bottleneck. As we can see here, we have at least one train waiting in this direction, and then looking this way, we have a train waiting here, and another train waiting here, and we don't really seem to have any more approaching, but we don't necessarily want to be wasting our money by having all these trains waiting for these platforms to clear up. So the goal of this episode is to hopefully double that so that this line here has access to all 4 of these platforms. So hopefully that will greatly improve how many trains we're able to get in and out of this station at any given moment, and hopefully we can get these numbers back down to much lower numbers that are reasonable for our trains. So while part of the solution could be just simply upgrading our trains to higher capacity and fewer trains, that won't really help out in the long run, as we'll only ever be getting more trains running on this line as we continue to connect up to the larger fabric of cities on this map. So I've never done anything like this where we split 2 tracks among 4 platforms in a way that flows very smoothly. So if I don't end up doing this right, or if you guys have any tips to do it better than how I end up doing it, please by all means let me know in the comments, but we're going to give it our best shot in this video. So firstly, just to help out in the future, let's go and expand this station 1 more set of tracks, just so if we do need them, they will be there in the future. And also, this whole station could do with a bit of modernizing, as I think we're in the latest era. I think we have one more era, but the look of the platforms is much nicer now, so we could probably come through here and delete all this and just simply upgrade it to give it a nice, fresh, new look. Alright, so now this station has a much newer, more refreshed look. We left this first platform as the old platform, just so it sort of acts as like a marker of history. I don't think it really changes much, as it can still hold the same amount of people, but we'll leave this as it is, like so, and we'll start connecting the tracks together. So we'll keep these tracks like so, and we will want to keep a quaternary on them so our electric trains can use it. We'll bring this over like so, and then I believe at some point over here we need to connect up to these tracks. So if we do something pretty much like this, and then have a crossover at some point. So I think if we end up with something like this, and then we get rid of these signals here so that the trains don't get stuck or blocked, and we replace these right here, then we can pretty much do the same thing on this end, which we already sort of have with these here, but at some point we just want to bring these tracks in and merge it to the other set. So we'll grab the tracks right about here, and although it's a little hard to see, we can just bring it over like that, and then like this, and we'll upgrade these tracks to high speed. So there that goes. And then we can delete the signals and then place those back on each one of these. So there we are with that. I think this should work out how we want it to, hopefully. So then we just have to come into all of our lines here and set alternate platforms for basically all 4 of these, like so. So we'll just come through and do that for all of these lines, and then we'll come back once we're done with that. Alright, so we've gone through and set alternate lines to be available for all 4 of these platforms, and then the one that goes up to Montgomery still only has these 2 platforms, but I don't think that'll really cause any major issues later on. So let's just hit play and hopefully this works out. Of course, we'll have to wait for these trains to filter through and fix themselves, but hopefully we should see these trains stopping for a very short amount of time instead of coming through and waiting in these huge lines of trains. So my initial reaction is it seems to be working, so that's exciting. I suppose maybe it could be a little bit more efficient, but I think for the purposes of what we're doing and using it for, I think it works just fine. So we can see here that train just slipped right into this platform without even stopping. And I think we're okay to leave this, really. So that ended up being a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Then again, who knows, maybe there's some huge problem that'll pop up later. But we'll leave that as is, and I think we're going to start upgrading a few of these trains. So again, as I said before, Jackson to Modesto is now our most in-demand line, and I don't think the train itself is an issue, as if we watch it, it does get up to its top speed fairly easily. I think we maybe just need to add some more cars or update the cars, although this engine is maybe struggling just a tiny bit. So I think this is going to be the new trains that we go with. We just switched out the cars for these cars here, as they're slightly lighter in weight and they have a faster loading speed, so these trains will be able to get in and out of the station a little quicker. We did lower the top speed by 3 miles an hour because of these cars, but I think the loading speed increase will make up for that lost time. And we also tried to keep the power rating pretty much the same, so it still gets up to its top speed in roughly 3 minutes, which is about how fast the old train did it. So we'll modify those, and we can take a look here, and it should be able to get up to its top speed of 87 miles an hour pretty soon here. So while we're here in Modesto, let's improve the public transportation on this end. I think our bus stops still pretty much cover everything, but we just want to make sure that we're able to move everyone, as a few of these stops seem to be overloaded. So we'll just replace those with some newer buses, and we'll go with, let's go with these fishbowl buses. Those will be able to carry considerably more and at a slightly higher speed. And I think we'll also come through and upgrade most of the streets through Modesto. And right here we're going to delete this road and hopefully fix it before the city does. So now we have a much straighter path to the bus stops, and we'll pretty much just be going around and upgrading the roads where we see our buses and trucks going. As I'm not too sure what this bus is doing, going all around like that. Maybe upgrading the roads did something to its pathfinding, but we're only really going to upgrade the roads that actually need it, and the ones I think all of our buses and trucks use. So I think we're finally good here. We might just do these little bits so that all of this stays the old roads, and we have sort of a new portion of the city here. But now that should allow us, if we hover over these, to go to a newer, higher top speed on all of these new roads. And then I think we'll just fix this road here so that we don't have such a short intersection segment, and hopefully that'll allow things to flow much better in this area. Alright, so looking back here at Jackson, everything still seems to be flowing exactly how we want it to. No major holdups anywhere. Although some of our intersections sometimes gets a little busy, but I don't think there's much we could really do about that. And it looks like we're finally starting to deal with the Jackson to Modesto demand that we had before. Now we don't want to get rid of this completely because we want our trains to be leaving full, but we don't want it to be overloading the platform and taking up space from all of the other lines. So another area that needs looked at is here in Montgomery. We haven't really done much over here in quite a while, and I'd really like to get this train station going, as I think Montgomery could be a really nice city with this landscape. So getting the city to grow to be a fairly good size would be pretty beneficial. So first, that's going to start out with overhauling the bus network. And the first thing I see is we need to fix some of the roads. So we'll come through here. We'll pretty much just redo this whole section of the city. So we'll bring that over. I think it wants another road somewhere here. And then bring this road straight across. And then this one straight across. Then we'll also complete this grid. Right here we could also add another grid segment. And it looks like we're not going to be able to do anything here, but that's fine. So we'll just smooth out the area where we just sort of plopped roads in so that the natural landscape goes back to looking decent. And then we'll just, I think our bus stops are fine where they're at. I think maybe this one could go, and we'll bring it farther down this way. Looks like that automatically updated. But we can see here, some of these we need to get going the right direction. So now we have all of our bus stops placed around here. Well, first let's manage this line and fix it. So it looks like we only really need to add one more station, and that would be right here. And this loop looks to be correct. So then we'll manage these vehicles and we'll update those. I think we'll actually go with these twin coach buses, as the small city streets only have a top speed of 31 miles an hour, so the only loss we have is one capacity compared to the fishbowl buses. So I don't really see that as a valid trade-off when the running cost is a little bit higher for the fishbowls as compared to the twin coaches. But then we'll come down here. Let's first see how many buses we had on that line before. So we had 8. Let's come down here. We'll buy 8 more of these twin coaches, and we'll set those up on a line running the opposite direction. So we'll have it come around like so. So now I believe that's working properly. I just want to make sure these are running separate terminals. So they are. And now hopefully this should be good to go. The city should fill in this area we redid, and hopefully our new buses can handle the new demand and really begin to supply this station with people. So the last thing we'll do again is just come through and upgrade all the roads, or at least all the ones that the buses will be using, so that we can get the most out of them. So we'll follow everything that our trucks and buses are using, come all the way down here, and just clean up a lot of the city streets. So there we go, Montgomery is now fully refreshed and upgraded, and I think that should lead us to being able to upgrade our train here now without much issue. Now, one thing I am noticing quick before we move on is I think we might actually want a bus station instead of these 2 stops here. So we'll try to squeeze this in right next to the train station. So we'll build this pretty much just like so. We'll increase the length and get that placed right there. So now, hopefully this sort of integrates and looks a little bit better than what we had there before. We'll just come through and paint this to be asphalt. Do the same here between the stations. And I don't really think there's much more we could do in terms of the terrain, as I don't think we can fix these bumps. Yeah, so it looks like this is what's gonna have to be, but now hopefully we won't have our buses all getting stuck on this road. Alright, so now hopefully this will work just fine, and we can, hopefully a train coming up here, we can grab it and upgrade it. So if we take a look at these trains running up to Montgomery, and let's just see how many people it picks up here. So it's unloading, makes us a decent amount of money, and it's leaving partially empty. And I think it's also the same way up on the Montgomery end of this line. If we come here, click this, now this number could continue going up since we just redid the bus line, but we'll wait for this train to come up here and see if it picks up a full load, and then we'll use that to determine if we need to increase or decrease the size of the train and what other adjustments we need to make. So here this train comes entering the station, and it looks like it's going to be picking up a full load of people. So looking at the leftovers at this station, there's about 20-25 people. So the demand on Montgomery's end is still there. So I think what we need to do is make a train that's similar in size, but probably faster. So we'll have to upgrade all of this track to high speed and electrified track. I'm not sure if we will use an electric train on this, but just in the future, since that seems to be where everything is going. So now this whole line is high speed. We just need to come back through and electrify the whole thing again. Alright, so now I think we're finally ready to, first of all, find these trains and redesign them. Alright, so here's the train we're going with. It's, I believe, 7 or actually I think it's 8 of these cars, followed by, or led by, the New Haven EP5 engine. It has a pretty good power, so it's able to go up the steep slope and get up to its top speed pretty quickly. I think it might even be a little quicker than this engine, as this one gets up to top speed in 100 seconds. This one gets up to top speed in 136, but it's about 12 miles an hour faster. It is an electric engine. Again, it's faster. It is slightly lower in capacity, but I think that'll make up for the loss in passengers. So I'm not sure why it says there's no electric path. Maybe the station's electrified. And all of this is electrified, I think. Oh, this segment here wasn't electrified. So, there we go. These trains should run better now. It looks like we're only able to do one, so we'll wait a little bit, we'll sell this engine, and then once this one makes it down to Jackson, we will duplicate it. So now that this engine's down by Jackson, we can duplicate it. And if we take a look here up at Montgomery, maybe that's where it's coming out. I don't know where that train's coming out at, but somewhere that train is coming out and it will connect up over here. So it looks like it came out of the Santa Clarita train depot, but here it is. We might repaint these so that they're a little more consistent in their coloring. So it doesn't seem like the cars are really much repaintable, but I guess I'm okay with this. So we'll let that run. And I think that's it for connecting to Montgomery. Alright, and then the last thing I want to do in this video is fixing what we did over here, where we have our high-speed train between Albuquerque and Jackson bypassing the Winston-Salem stop. And I think what we want to do instead is keep the fast train on the smoother track that doesn't have the merges where it dips down into like 70 miles an hour or whatever it was. So really the quick, simple solution we can do for that is come in here to platforms. We'll just add platforms onto this side, and we'll add all the other features like the underpass and the covered walkway. And then really all we have to do is, I think we just have to switch what platforms this line is using. So if we manage this line, and here at Winston-Salem, it'll come in and use the 3rd platform, and then on its way back it'll use the 4th platform. So then all we have to do is find our other engine on this line, which we could probably easily find if we come to Albuquerque. We click this line and manage it. I think we might have to do a waypoint. So we'll set a waypoint here and here. And then we'll manage this line coming from Albuquerque. It'll go through that waypoint, and then coming here will come through this waypoint. And that's just the quick solution that we're going to do here right now. I think in the future we can get rid of this middle platform and have the middle 2 tracks be sort of our express rail straight to Albuquerque, and then the outer 2 will be for the point-to-point stop that stops here in Winston-Salem. But that'd be a lot of reconstructing and redoing all this, so we'll leave that for a later date. So here comes one of these trains right now that will stop at Winston-Salem, and it does make the switch over, which is exactly what we want to see, since it'll be slowing down at these tracks anyway, so this train will come right in, stop, and then as it leaves and merges, it'll keep sort of its slow speed as it comes into Albuquerque. Now I want to come over here to the cargo hub and just check in on stuff that we did in the last episode. So we added food here to go to Jackson, and it looks like there is a ton of food waiting to go to Jackson. So we might be redoing this train so that it can carry significantly more food, so that the food isn't taking up all of the space on the platform here. Alright, so here's the train that we're going to be running with. It is considerably longer now, carrying up to 300 resources. A mix of box cars and tank cars. We reduced the amount of tank cars just slightly. Actually, let's just do that now. So, since it wasn't ever really carrying a full load of fuel, it'll carry that. And hopefully there's a ton more space now for food and tools, as I think we've got 10, 12 of these now. It can get up to its top speed on flat and medium slopes, which I believe it's mostly flat all the way to Jackson. So if we just replace this now, hopefully there won't be too much of an issue. And so we'll have to wait for this to come back around to see exactly how much of this it can pick up. But for now I think this is okay. And depending on how much it picks up, we might even need to get a second train running into Jackson. So here it is as this train comes across the bridge towards Jackson, slowly getting up to its top speed. Let's see if it can even get to its top speed between now and the station, because if it can't, that's somewhat of a different issue that we need to tackle then, as we'll need to look for a different engine to carry this. So it does just barely reach its top speed right before it gets to the station. That's a little concerning, but at least the return trip will be fast, so we might leave it how it is for now. So here comes this train into the station right now. Let's see how much it picks up. We can see it loading here, picking up a ton of food. So that looked like it didn't even really pick up any tools, which I suppose is okay. Maybe it's just figuring out or evening out the load. If we check the line, it should be set. Yeah, it is set to load both things, so maybe this time it just picked up food so that there was space for tools. I'm not too sure, but we'll leave that anyway, and we'll let that continue to function. So coming back to Jackson, let's see how our fuel situation is, since we're not really getting much demand for fuel. Let's see if maybe it's just the placement of the station, or if there really just isn't that much here. So it looks like this truck stop does cover all the fuel that's up here, so I think it might just be a demand thing, as Scottsdale even doesn't really have that much demand for fuel either. So I suppose we might not be transporting too much fuel to these areas, but I suppose that's fine with the trains we have, as we have fuel going other places anyway. So finally, this just quickly caught my eye. Our airport has a good amount of people waiting, and with only 2 aircraft, I think we could probably afford to get another one. If we just check over in Sacramento, Sacramento still has some people waiting, but that's to be expected, as Sacramento is still slightly smaller than Mesa, so the air travel demand probably isn't quite as much as it would be in Mesa. So I think let's grab these and see if we've unlocked any new planes recently. Let's grab passenger planes. And we do have the Comet here. I believe, yeah, everything else is cargo planes. So let's go with these Comet planes. We'll do that. And I believe these are our first jet engine planes. And I think we'll just get one more to help satisfy the demand that we have, at least over in Mesa. So here's what that plane looks like as it flies just over Sacramento. We might actually just, well actually we can't, but we'll want to space these planes out better on these lines since they're all over in the city of Sacramento at the moment. We will want one on, over on the side of Mesa, just so that it's more consistent travel. Alright, so with that, I think that'll be pretty much all that we do now. It looks like all the trains coming in and out of Jackson are pretty much freely flowing in and out of the station, so glad we were able to solve that problem. So with that, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.